welcome to Monday, December 6th, year-end meeting of the Park Board. Notice we have a quorum. First agenda item is the approval of claims and minutes from the November 2021 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a second.
A second.
Any discussion or questions on that?
No, ma'am.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Number 2, program guide for the 2022. Chad?
Matt, do you just want to scroll down a bit?
I will, yeah.
All right, hello board. So past couple of meetings, we've kind of gone over the rough drafts of the new program guide. Been working on that since I think the October Parks Board meeting. This is what we have right now. So if, Matt, if you want to scroll up just so we can see all of that, that would be great. So that's what the outside is going to look like. Right now, we're just going to kind of go over what the brochure is going to look like. We won't worry about the fees till later, but this is just kind of what's going to be in people's hands when we get the word out about all of our programs. So there you can see, it's got the city seal on it, 2022 right there at the bottom. Threw in a little bit about us section on the outside flap. And then that back flap, that's a thank you to all of our sponsors, and then a way that people can get a hold of us. It's got our phone number, and then it also has our Facebook account on there as well, so people know if they have any questions where to get a hold of us. So Matt, if you want to scroll down and then go to the inside part where it says inside right there.
Where's that?
Yep. So that, and it's kind of hard to see right now just because of the screen and the resolution, but that's what all of them are going to look like. That's what people would open up and see. And then at the bottom of it, it says, where our registrations can be found for all of those programs. So if, is there anything that you guys see, any glaring problems with that right now?
I would just add to one more thing is what we talked about doing here in this blank space you see in the bottom right is adding a QR code so that with that link you can also see that there at the bottom, but you can just pull that up on your phone and it would take you right to all of our programs and stuff on Rec Desk just to make it a little bit easier and more accessible for people. But I think what Chad's put together is really, really great. Something that has been a big focus of him and I is to make the Parks Department more marketable, more easier to discover, especially moving everything to an online platform last year, changing the way that things have been done from everybody had to come to City Hall to fill out paperwork, you had to come to City Hall to drop it off, to pay, to do all that. Now we accept credit cards, we have an online presence, and so really just trying to modernize the overall department, and I think this is a great marketing tool going forward that we can take to all the businesses, all the schools, and really flyer the whole town with it so that everybody knows exactly what's going on when, what all we're offering.
Yeah.
Is there a spot without going to registration that I could click and age groups was available, like bird watching, it's new. So like we can't put all that in a brochure, that's not right. But is there, and you may want to create a place where I could click on bird watching, or not, a link where all of this would be in addition to the registration link, where I would have ages when, like, expanding that information.
Just more information about
More information,
Yeah.
that's not the registration form.
Okay,
Right.
yeah. I think
And that's, you could create that one time, have a link, and just go in parentally, and update what you want to do, delete, add, those types of things. So I think, without going to the registration, it would be good just
Yeah.
to have descriptions, maybe even put, where it is, those types of things, and have.
Yeah. I think we can add that as part of our description, so it's not the sign up process,
Right.
but it's on the description. You say, I want to learn more about that. When you
Something
click
like
under that programs tab, there's then a drop down menu and you'll see everything from volleyball to bird watching to you name it, and then you learn more about it. So yeah, that is what we're intending to do with it.
Okay, all right.
That's, great idea. Thank you.
All right. Well, is everybody else okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. That's all I've got for now.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So when do we want to have this is this to be launched and ready in January?
Yeah, it's pretty much I'll order all of those tomorrow.
So all you have to do is but you've got to create this new drop-down
Right.
category, correct?
That would be on Rec Desk though, but yes, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's still, all of our programming is still gonna be as a part of Rec Desk. We just need to add all the descriptions and the information. What Chad has presented the last couple of meetings has been more of the bulk, the substance of it, of what we wanna offer, the timing and that sort of thing. And now this meeting was more focused on the marketability of it. And then the next one, we're gonna go through to the online portion and actually build it all out on there. As we're kind of handing this out for people to start becoming aware.
Okay. Okay. Master plan update?
Yes, so I believe it's the last sheet that is on your in your packet there, but this is an updated step of where we're at right now throughout the master plan. So just as a recap, our current master plan is set to expire. It was good from 2017 through the end of 2021. So you can see the list there of what all that we have completed and the due dates. So far, the first initial draft that's due to DNR is on January 14th, and that is only meant to be 2/3 of the overall master plan. If you skip down ahead to April 15th, that's when the final 100% completed plan is due to DNR. So Nicole Shell, our city planner, she has been working with us tremendously with this, and now she's handed most of this off to Ratio, who's going to begin working on the needs analysis, the renderings of kind of what all we're looking to get accomplished here for the next 5 years. She's been working on a lot of the demographics, the background information and such. So that's where you'll see we've got a very good chunk of this done. We're pretty much ready to go for our 14th first deadline, and just need to shore some things up. So this is again where the park board, I think, is very crucial at this time as to really hone in on what our focus needs to be for the next 5 years. And so this is just kind of just a heads up on where we're at. We will be having some public meetings that will begin looking at early February. We'll need to have 2 to 3 of those minimum just to be able to have some public input. Maybe looking at doing additional surveys. I know we've already done one that was facility related. Possibly looking at doing additional ones, programming, maybe other facility needs, just kind of seeing, engaging what all our public wants. But you guys hear it all from the public, so you're the perfect people to really talk to and help us kind of mold this to be exactly what our community needs for the foreseeable future. Do you guys have any questions over the master plan steps or anything like that so far?
No.
No.
Okay.
All right. So Matt, just then go into your year-end review.
Yes, ma'am. So for my report, I wanted to do something a little bit different this month. I know we're not quite to the end of the year. All that we've got left really operational for our facilities is our golf course right now, which that season is winding down. But I just want to give you guys kind of a little bit of recognition for what all that we've accomplished this year. So it's been no secret coming into 2021 with all the fee changes that we made for the campground, for the golf course and such. It was a little rocky start. We had a lot of different turmoil and transition that you all dealt with in the past 12 months, but overall I would say that we've had a very, very successful year so far. And so I just kind of want to hit some of the highlights of that. So looking at this, I know this might be a little difficult to read for you, but if you could look at the board, by the numbers, I'm just kind of giving you a quick glimpse what all our Parks Department entails, and just to kind of give you a preview of the magnitude of what we have here. This Parks Department is very unlike your average Parks Department in any community. Much more comprehensive than you would normally see. So let's just start at the top with a $2.3 million annual operating budget. You've got 9 full-time staff currently. We offered 21 different programs this past year, of which we saw 1,122 participants. So if you break that down, that's over 50 participants per activity. We have 225 acres of parkland and open space that we have to maintain with those 9 employees. And then an estimated estimation of 93,211 people who visit our parks annually. And something else to kind of dive into this, I did some research with the National Park and Recreation Association, putting some emphasis on what we have here. For a town that's under 20,000 residents, there should be 1,235 residents per park, which means for a city of Madison, just over 12,000, there should be 9 to 10. We have over 20 parks, so we double that. If you're looking at just pure acres of parkland, again, under 20,000 people, 12.4 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents, which means we should only be operating roughly 150 acres or lower. We operate 225. You want to look at playgrounds. Should be about 3,600 residents per playground. So you should only have 3 to 4. We operate 6 of them. Basketball courts, just looking at outdoors, should be 1 every 7,000 residents. We have 5. So this just kind of puts in perspective how massive our parks department really is when you think about over 20 parks and facilities. You think about the full-time staff, which you have to take into account that that's including myself, Kim, Chad, and we're not out there mowing every day or doing these other things. That really limits the amount of labor that you've got out there that's doing all this work to maintain 225 acres. And 93,000 people who visit our parks. I can show you the numbers on the breakdown for that. Got with VMI to discuss the festivals and the different things that we have going on downtown. I use the numbers from the people that we have visit Sunrise, visit our campground, Crystal Beach, go to the Brown Gym, the complex. It really is a massive entity that we have here with our park system. Just everything that we do. And so this is on the heels, I'd like to say on the heels of COVID. We know that that still is around and it's probably not going anywhere for a while. But this is just kind of a sneak peek of all the things that we were still able to manage our way through during this year. So it really just kind of helps put a few things in perspective. I mean, we've got some photos that we were able to capture during the chamber outing up at Sunrise, and then obviously our wonderful Crystal Beach pool. And something else I added with that, again, just showing you some of our different parks. You've got Bicentennial when it snows out. You've got Bicentennial down there on the right. You've got your Fireman's Park. We hold a lot of different activities. Hargan Matthews, our freshest park, which if you drive past there any point in time during the day, you're going to see people out there. I drove past yesterday afternoon and I saw every single bay on our swing set was full, and it was even to adults, I would say in their mid to late 50s, that were sitting there swinging with big smiles on their faces. On the top right, you've got our sport court down there by the country club, and I'm somewhere in there, Mayor Courtney's out there, I think, getting beat pickleball.
Yeah.
But
Easy. That's an easy one.
in the middle, shelter house over at Johnson Lake, and then there in your top left, the Broadway Fountain, which right now has the green lights, makes it look like a big Christmas tree. But just another kind of example when I say about all the different parks and facilities, the over 20 that we manage, the 225 acres. This is some of the stuff that it is, and it really just kind of shows how clean, safe, and beautiful that we try to keep the community, that the street department, the parks department, the city as a whole does in unison to really make this one. Now, board, I have a question for you. What do these two numbers have in common? If you don't have an answer, that's okay. But I'd like you to think about it for a second. Do I have any takers? So the one on the left, this is the number of users that we registered on RecDesk just this year. And our one on the right, that's the number of different transactions that we processed on RecDesk just this year. We unveiled it at the very beginning of January. Our initial goal was to look for one comprehensive platform to bring all of our park systems into: the campground, the golf course, the pool, our complex, our programming. We landed on RecDesk. It's been phenomenal for a majority of our events, for what we're hosting. And this is just kind of an example of something that used to be done manually in 2019 and 2020. And now we've moved this to an online platform. moving the Parks Department itself into the 21st century and really streamlining the efficiency of our overall department. These numbers, users may not rise quite as rapidly, but transactions are only going to be more and more as we progress throughout the years and we make this department offer more. We're getting more inclusive of everything that we're doing. So that's one thing that we're very excited about, the trajectory of RecDesk, and now with our other platforms that we're looking at for golf and for Campground. And so just one of the many things that we just unveiled this year that's already paying dividends for us.
And Matt, you might want to mention that, that's 19,000 transactions that were processed online rather than manually as it had been in the past. That's a tremendous volume that saves time and we can do other things with. And it also puts the power into the hands of, the person that wants to make the transaction, which is great.
You don't have to come down to City Hall.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Lots of
That's a more, I'm
Lots of
sure
benefit.
people appreciate, once all the bugs were worked out, the consumer
It's
appreciates that as much as anybody.
how difficult is it to get down here between 8 and 4 to be able to sign up or pay for something? So looking at some of the accomplishments that we have had here in 2021. So I know we've talked about the campground here since the season just got finished at the end of October, but to reiterate, we've doubled our profits at the campground to $100,000 this year. Projecting to eliminate 2/3 of our Sunrise Golf Course deficit. If you remember, that was close to $400,000 in 2020. We look at the past decade, we've lost millions of dollars at Sunrise Golf Course, and one of our very first initiatives and endeavors was to try to eliminate that. And we are looking to be close to 2/3 of our way there in year 1. With what's gone on, when I mentioned these first two, it's even more impressive with the fact that we've had a brand new campground host. We've had a brand new head golf professional who only started at the very end of June. We had a brand new programming coordinator that came on very beginning of June. And we're still able to do everything that I mentioned with our programming and with our facilities, and be able to maintain them and excel at them with people who have been here for just a mere matter of a few months. Integrated technology, again, to streamline our daily operations. So I've hit on RecDesk, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Golf Now, which was unveiled in August. We haven't got to see the true potential of that just yet, but Roger he's had the experience at his previous place of employment and raves about what potential that has. And so we really hope to tap into that and unveil it here with a full 2022 season. We've created a 4-member golf board, something that we want to be more hands-on with the overall financials, and again, with that goal to eliminate the deficit at Sunrise, have a little bit more operational control, a little bit more oversight, and frankly, just more ears and eyes to tell us what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right, how can we improve. We began our $2.7 million Crystal Beach restoration project. That's something that's been in the works for the past 4 or 5 years, 4 years. And so that's going to be fixing the fencing, the concession stand, the pool liner itself, the pool house, making that a usable space again, and that is all looking to be finished before 2022 season. At Sunrise, already renovated the clubhouse, our on-course bathrooms, the shelter house that's out there on the course, added GPS technology to the carts as well, just again, trying to bring everything to a more modern culture. We want to utilize that space up there as more than just a place that you pay for your golf. You may come in there for a quick bite and you're gone. We want to make it a more inclusive environment, open to all family events, and make that, because it's a very beautiful space, and I think there's a lot of opportunity up there to have people in there daily, whether you're golfing or not. After an 18-month hiatus, we have reopened Senior Center. We brought back senior dances per request of the seniors. I believe at our very first one, we had 60 guests there, and that number has continued to rise as we get the word out more and more. And our seniors are very ecstatic to be able to get out and about, be able to reconnect with people that it may have been a while since they've seen. And then, as I mentioned too, with our master plan, is trying to create this blueprint for the next 5 years. This is something I've dusted off the old master plans, and I see that there were a lot of good ideas, but not a lot of things were actually implemented. So what we really want to do is create a legitimate blueprint with this that it's going to kind of pave the way and show us the exact steps of how we're going to accomplish it over the next 5 years. It's nice to be able to say these things. They sound nice, but we want to actually get them done. And that's what brings me to what we're looking at here for 2022. So this has all been about what 2021 has brought us, but it's really leading us into where we're headed. And so as I mentioned with our Crystal Beach project, that will be finished before our opening day here for our 2022 pool season. We'll have a full season there. Expect great things. Cannot wait to have that finished. And like I said, to be able to utilize that pool house. Going to upgrade our public restrooms. It would be a travesty to only do our improvements there inside the facility of Crystal Beach without addressing the dreadful bathrooms that are just outside of Crystal Beach there by the basketball courts. So upgrading those, making them ADA accessible, improving the fencing around there, along with Kiwanis to make that a little bit more aesthetic. And then we've got 5 outdoor basketball courts, all in dire need of attention. If you've been to the ones, I think personally probably the worst one, you look at Lorenz, there's grass growing out through, there's concrete pieces missing, and all 5 of them, they need that.
The Oak Hill one is really
Okay,
good.
yeah, that was gonna be my guess.
Their campground bathhouse needs another one that needs to be ADA accessible, needs to be a little bit improved in terms of our flooding, what we have that's going on there, because it takes a lot of manpower whenever there is inclement weather. But expanding that with the amount of volume that we've seen this past year, with the profits that we're seeing, we've got to give back to our campers and show that we care and continue to keep the traditions going. I can't tell you how many times I had phone calls this summer. People would tell me their story about how many years that they've been camping at our campground. So we owe it to them to be reinvesting those profits back into their facility. Upgrades at Rutgers Sports Complex, another one of our main facilities that was kind of state-of-the-art 20 years ago, but it's difficult to maintain with just one person over there full-time. And I think we've kind of taken the backseat to trying to play catch-up, and we're not forward-thinking enough with it. So Chad, that's been a huge focus of his, is what can we do to really reinvigorate Rutgers and get that to the premier sports facility that it once was, and have that completely packed out and busy each and every single weekend. New youth programs, again, what Chad was mentioning with our program guide, we're trying to figure out what the kids want. I don't believe that everything should be sports driven. We still need our youth basketballs, our youth softballs, volleyball, your traditional things, but I think there's a lot of other areas that we can look to try to invoke some of these kids and get them out from behind the PlayStations and the Xbox, get them to our parks, get them in front of people who may have a lesson to teach them, and just kind of break that eggshell and try something different. So that's where with what we're doing for our youth programs, we want to still focus on what the kids want, but we want to look for some new avenues that's not entirely sports driven. Exciting adult leagues for all ages and skill sets. Something that we want to try to do is partnering with Hanover College, with Ivy Tech, with the local communities around here, not just Jefferson County really, and try to expand what we're doing for all of our adult leagues, whether that is, again, the traditional stuff of your basketball, your adult softball, whether that's men's or women's, flag football, sand volleyball. We've got a lot of unique facilities here that we can have a lot to offer our community. So I think we really just need to get that word out there, and we can bring in that participation. New software for online booking. With Golf Now, we'll have the full 2022 season, and then Reserve America, which we will be unveiling here in January for our campground. So this is going to be a much more user-friendly service for everybody that is kind of world-renowned now about how to use the campground. That's what Clifty Falls uses. It's the #1 campground software in America. So that's going to make finding the city campground that much easier, make booking seconds instead of a few minutes as it was previously, and just make it easier on Doug to be able to manage that whole space and help us fill out all the inventory that we've got down there. So with 34 sites on a premier spot on the Ohio River, there's no reason we can't have that full each and every night. And then upgrade our community parks for the enjoyment of all. One thing that we're focusing on with this master plan is our neighborhood parks, our Gaines, our Oak Hill, our Lorenz Park. These are things that have been neglected for quite some time, and it all kind of comes full circle when you think about the deficit that we've incurred with Sunrise. It's been leaking money for how long, and we've been trying to patch it with this money that should have been going to repairing our parks, to providing for our children. I mentioned that we already have more facilities than we should for our size. But one thing that I've learned at one of these conferences I was at, it's about selling experiences, not spaces. And that's what we really want to focus on, is giving these kids a better experience than just a broken down slide for them to ride down. So that's kind of where.
I'll make a couple comments on this, which is, there's a lot of other organizations that are working that will together that will have a direct impact on what Matt just outlined as goals for 2022. Believe it or not, but we're about to do a major road and sidewalk project in Oak Hill. Because of the way that we are asset managing our streets and our sidewalks now, we're able to leverage state grant dollars in order to make a bigger impact. And so rather than doing a street here or street there, we've been tackling neighborhoods, bigger projects where you can see the big impact. And Oak Hill's a prime candidate for it because we have poorly rated streets and sidewalks up there as we've gone through the asset management plan, which will also allow us an opportunity to revisit then, which is next year, upgrades to the park in the area. Because he had mentioned the 5 basketball courts, and that's probably one of the worst ones across the city. So we'll be able to tackle a lot of things all at the same time. It's really ambitious, but we're pretty excited about it. On the programming side of things, the Jefferson County Board of Tourism, through leadership of Councilman Chris Chatham, they formed a Jefferson County, it's Madison Hanover Sports Tourism group. And so we're now having kind of the beginning meetings of that as to how do we link up tourism so that it benefits our athletic programs. And when we have big events in the community, how do we reach out to them so that they're staying in our hotels, they're dining in our restaurants, they're visiting the community? And that already shows a lot of promise. And there are sporting events going on across our community that aren't sponsored by the school or the city, that are privately sponsored. Just recently there was a gymnastic tournament out at Southwestern. There was 500 participants in that program. I went out to greet them, and it's amazing what some of our private businesses are doing that is sports related, that has linkage to the city, the parks, the county, as well as tourism. So there's a lot we can do to leverage for the benefit, and when we say leverage, it's either bringing more money to an initiative or bringing more money to the community. And that's why the integration of all the things that we're talking about here will have a much bigger impact in 2022 than probably ever before.
And I know we've mentioned this before, but because we have so many, and we have just looking for community involvement to take ownership to, like taking a park, or you see on the highways that there's organizations, but setting up a system where our organization, I know the school has several service organizations that could take a park, or something like that, and just that would help with, my church does a 5th Sunday, and they want to go outside the doors, so we pull weeds in Anderson Elementary, but to help with some of that small stuff, and it's ownership. And I think that's a lot too, that you can get the community to get involved.
We had a few groups this summer do a fantastic job. Corporate citizens, they beautified the campground, did painting and beautification there, cleaned up Hatcher Hill, all across. We have a very charitable community, both on the churches and our corporate sponsors that are corporate entities that sponsor or provide labor to do things that help our park system.
And if you can find a system to make it easier for them, that they would like you said, very charitable, and they feel some,
And
and just help with the plant flowers,
Right.
whatever that you want, you know, they can do things that,
Right.
you know.
I had back-to-back meetings tonight, but I just left the Riverfront Development Committee and the work that they're doing to beautify our riverfront, you know, the private fundraising and the effort and the planning is, you know, really pretty phenomenal.
Board, do you have any questions over this?
So what we're gonna do now is just kind of give you an update on the progress we've made at Sunrise through the course of the year. A lot of progress has been made, a lot of progress still needs to be made. And I know Roger's here and he hasn't seen these numbers and I just finished them yesterday, but you might want to blow that screen up a little bit. I'm really gonna focus on the graphs, but I'll give some highlights, so if you go to the graphs. But, you know, as we adopt this technology, the other thing that we've got to get to that we're not there yet is having our financial systems catch up. Some of the ways that we financially manage the city because of State Board of Accounts and Department of Local Government Finance, frankly, is pretty antiquated for what we need. So eventually, as we get into golf now and our other systems, we'll be able to extract more real-time reports that are custom tailored for us, rather than doing them the way we're doing now, which is manually preparing them, collecting information from the clerk's office for transactions, and then trying to assimilate it into a fashion of information that we can then make decisions off of. But this first graph is about rounds played. And through the end of November, we have had 13,169 rounds of golf. Relative to 2020, the split between season passes and paid rounds is roughly the same. 71% of the rounds played are with season pass holders, 29% are paid rounds. Our goal continues to be grow the number of paid rounds with golf now. That is, not only is that a good point of sale system for us, but it's also going to be, you know, our marketing platform. Roger brought that in and has worked with getting that online. And a lot of these improvements, you know, again, has happened really in the last quarter for the most part, because we got control of the clubhouse in July. We started making these technological changes, the updates, platform changes, and there are things that we didn't get to that are still priorities for 2022. But I will mention that you know, last year and all prior years, all the rounds played were tracked manually. They were tracked on a piece of paper somewhere. Now, by using a point of sale system, we're able to track exactly what we're doing, exactly what we're selling, exactly how many hot dogs or beers, and round of golfs, whether you're a season pass holder or or someone coming from the community to play. Matt, you'll toggle over a little bit. I want to talk about the revenue section for just a second, right there. So what we're showing here, revenue to date for 11 months is $381,000. That's up 12% over 2020 at this time of year. 340,000 approximately was in 2020. We're still looking to diversify our revenue streams. As traditional golf courses is coming largely from green fees and passes that we sell, cart stickers, but you'll see where we are also generating now some concession revenue. We were a little slow in kind of getting that ramped up because we had to do some renovations and we had to staff that up. We had to get the point of sale system in place, but now you can see really just in a matter of a few months we've generated almost $17,000 of concession revenue. What's missing from that list of revenue that we had wanted to do in 2021 but didn't get to, but is a priority for 2022, is our corporate sponsorships. So we're going to generate quite a bit more money now from corporate sponsorships and I saw an outline that Roger and Matt had pulled together along with the golf board, and Zach, you were probably involved in this, on things they want to do to really create more play and cultivate more players at Sunrise, and it's some pretty exciting things for next year. But our revenue is up 12%. If you'll go back over to the other graph, sorry to flip it back there, but season pass structure is very similar to prior years, where the majority of it is from adults. That is down a little bit, but across the spectrum of other membership season pass holders with spouses, college and high schools, that's pretty consistent with prior years. A good takeaway here that's not on that graph is that our revenue from season pass holders is up 22%.
So the revenue from the season passes is up.
It's up.
The rounds are down, so.
Rounds are, well.
Or the passes are down.
Passes are down.
Yes.
You mentioned,
But
you
you
mentioned
still made more money,
Correct.
and that was the big question.
that was the design.
Yes.
We
Okay.
still want to grow back our season
Right.
passes. There's a tremendous amount of play that's already, there's still a great benefit, which we'll get into here in just a second. There's still a big benefit by having a season
Yes.
pass, even though we raised the rates last year. But we needed it, and as Matt indicated, and again, the reason we went through all of this was so that we can create a source of capital to do other things with that are really important across the park system, whether it be our sports programming side or investing in upgrading and maintaining the vast number of parks we have across the community. So Matt, go back over to the left and we'll talk about expenses for a second. This is a really important statistic here on the left where you'll see salaries. The big takeaway here is that while we're still making improvement on our salaries and benefit structure, it's really expensive to maintain a golf course and to do one that is, I think, as good as Sunrise, and also try to market it as a more regional course. It needed to be upgraded, and so I don't think we have shorted ourselves any on staffing, but because we're managing the labor better and we are growing our revenue, that's the key here. Our salaries to total revenue is down significantly. So in 2020, our salaries and benefits was 125% of our revenue. Well, you're never going to make money at that ratio. So we've been able to reduce our salaries and benefit overhead ratio from 125% down to 82%. I still think 82% is on the high side, but we're making dramatic progress. The changes aren't going to be made overnight, but we're chipping away at it. And the key here isn't to have more overhead reduction, because we got to have enough to maintain the course and the caliber that we want, and also to manage it. The key is going to be the growing the revenue side, and we do that with more outside rounds played, and we do that with corporate sponsorships and concessions. Those are all literally 3 revenue streams that we really haven't had much of in the past, but that's going to be the game changer for Sunrise. If you'll flip back over to the graph again, we'll go down to the revenue composition I talked about. We are introducing more revenue here, which is now coming from concessions, and we are, because of the rate increase we did last year, not only are we getting more revenue from a very similar amount of paid rounds, but we're getting 22% more revenue from season pass holders, and still delivering, I think, an exceptional value for season pass holders. Going down to the other graph, we'll just stay on the graph side. Expense composition, what I mentioned here. Our largest expense, obviously, is salary and benefits. That consumes the bulk of our expenses there, and the rest is in amortizing some debt service and CapEx for batteries and a couple golf cart acquisitions, and then the rest really is maintaining the golf course. Biggest expense in maintaining the golf course outside of salaries and benefits is chemicals. chemicals the biggest one, and then beyond that, it's utilities between gas, water, sewer, and telephone. The thing about, if you'll toggle back over, I'm going to give you one more really powerful statistic, and that is our year-to-date operating expenses are $541,000. That translates to $49,000 a month. That compares to our monthly expenses in last year and prior years of $82,000 a month. So we have reduced our monthly operating expenses 43% over 2020. We also reduced our accrued overtime by 80%. That was something that wasn't very well managed, and because we've made the changes structurally, it requires less supervisory and administration time. Last point on the golf course I'll mention, and this is the bottom line. What the bottom line is, the bottom line. While we're also delivering, I think, a great value and a good golf experience, the whole, again, mission about all this is trying to organically create a source of capital so that we can invest in the rest of our parks without relying on the rest of our park system to do it. Keep in mind that our property tax levy that supports the parks and the city is not growing much at all. I used the example last year when we were talking about the rates that, you know, the county library has a bigger tax base than the city Madison Parks Department. And the reason, when I say county, it's the Jefferson County Library. Their funding is based on all of the assessed value of all the property in Jefferson County, which is approximately $1 billion. City Madison Park System, while it's enjoyed by visitors, tourists, and the entire county, is only supported by the fees we generate off of those revenue generating assets like the pool, the campground, the golf course, and our property taxes based on City Madison property taxes. And so our property taxes, the assessed value of the property in the City of Madison is a little over $600 million. So you can kind of see the correlation of what strains our resources, because our parks are open to all, but is funded by City of Madison residents and fees that we charge. So we had this discussion recently at a county commissioner, county council meeting as we're working on a major water project for next year, and that is a City of Madison resident is a Jefferson County resident, and they pay City of Madison and Jefferson County taxes. A Jefferson County resident only pays Jefferson County taxes, and not City of Madison taxes, because they don't get all the city services. But they do benefit from all the investment we make in our roads, our sidewalks, our parks, our tourism apparatus, and all of our facilities. So we're not proposing anything different. I'm only pointing that out, that we have to be really judicious about how we operate, because we don't have a very, very big base of taxes that we levy in order to support our park system. But here, what's, I think, great news is where we had been losing between $370,000 and $400,000 a year, we are projecting that our deficit for 2021 will be under $175,000, and that will mean we have reduced our losses in the first year of this new strategy, and really the last half of this first year, by 54%. Still have a lot of work to do. We still have not prepared for big capital expenditures, and what I mean by big is really the water system up there. We're still using the sprinkler system that's probably 20 years, 25 years old. It's being patched, along the way. But this is a good start. It's a good start.
Do you have the individual rounds played from last year?
Yes, last year,
I'm just curious how much.
again, I'll just mention that we were tracking it manually.
Right. Yeah.
But we had presented that there were 25,000 rounds of golf last year. Roughly exactly similar percentages, 74% season pass rounds and 26% paid rounds.
Okay.
We didn't have a point of sale system, it was tracked manually. It was also a COVID year where there was probably a lot of extra play because of outdoor, the push toward safe outdoor activities during COVID. But
So let me ask,
we're tracking probably to end up with less than 14,000 rounds.
okay,
But because we're in the winter season now.
right. My question is, like you said, the season passes, we generated more revenue even though we were down some.
Yeah.
Using the individual played, did we make more revenue? Or were the rounds down enough that we didn't make as much revenue?
With the season
off
pass
of it?
holders, the number of rounds they play is irrelevant, other
Right.
than to present a
Right.
value to them. So,
But like for the what I'm talking about is the because we made an increase in the individual round.
yeah,
Did we make more money even though we had lower rounds, I guess is my question.
I believe we did,
Okay.
because our overall revenue is up 12%. And now, I will say that we still have to work to get our costs down. And
And
we're
think
gonna
that-
have to evaluate that cost structure still.
that golf now will generate more individual rounds, right, Roger? Because that's kind of the goal, and it fluctuates with that
Yeah.
per round cost, and that's going to generate. You're going to leave your premium for your premium, but some of those other rounds, golf now will help
Yeah, absolutely.
put golfers.
Rogers taking the exact approach that I would take with it, which is consider every tee time inventory.
Yeah.
And once you pass that tee time, you kind of have spoilage. So what we're trying to do, and what Golf Now will help us do, is market. So before, our universe was primarily Madison. Now with Golf Now and with our website, we have a great website that's out there now, we're able to reach anybody. And then when we start really truly linking it up with, stay and play type things and league and first tee programs and all the things that Roger and the golf board and Matt are working on, we'll see more play out of that. But the first step is, how do we create a marketing presence? You get that marketing presence through with Golf Now, through your website, and through having an intentional marketing effort that we frankly, didn't do much of in prior years.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause- and then
So-
talk about discount the book and all of those
Yeah.
things to generate
Outside
rounds.
soy.
It's like everything else, to get the rounds, you don't necessarily have to pay the sticker price if we were marketing other places to get.
And the league stuff, the corporate leagues, he's got some fantastic ideas that's gonna generate the more revenue producing, but think about it too, more people that are on the course,
Oh.
more concessions you're selling.
Well, that was my next question. The alcohol sales, are we to the point now where we're comfortable and will now start expanding that? Because I know there was, you just kind of work your way into it to make sure you kind of know what you're doing.
This year
With the alcohol.
Tim, would be characterized more as an experimental year.
Yes, that's,
We're breaking,
exactly.
we're doing a little better than break even,
Okay,
but we're
that's good.
introducing something new.
right.
But I'll tell you, anybody that comes for a tournament, or if you're coming from out of town, they expect to be able to buy alcohol
Right.
there. When they couldn't get the alcohol, we either had to cater it in, like if we were doing a tournament or a league, or an event. But if you're coming from out of town, you expect food service and alcohol opportunities.
Yeah, if we're doing a little bit of breaking even, that's
Yep.
good to get, because we're just getting our feet wet.
Yeah, and then
With
we're
that,
still,
that's
we're still generating a good value for season pass holders. I know that last year it was a phenomenal value, and then we changed the rates. It's still a good value. And I think that the improvements that we've made to the course itself is providing a good experience. And I'd invite Roger to add anything he wants to add that on what I'm talking about with the regard to strategy and where we've been, where we're going.
I was just gonna bring up one Golf Now example. Two guys came up from Louisville.
We'll get you on film there, because you're very, photogenic.
Just one example of golf now. Two gentlemen from Louisville came up to play. Never been to the golf course. They were in their 60s. Came, stopped in at the clubhouse to turn, asked if we had any group rates or anything. That he had a Facebook page, the Bogey Brothers is what they call themselves, a group of 75 followers on Facebook, and they travel with a group of 30 golfers. We're already setting up a date to come up and play. So just one example of where it's not actually golf now, the actual process, it's the marketing of it that helps bring, more opportunity in. So
That's
that's all.
that's what you're, that's the target right there.
Exactly.
Bringing them in from out of town and
Right. Let
expanding.
people know we're here.
I like the direction we're heading and the progress we've made and the energy. It's something you just really gotta focus on. And, Zach's also on that golf board, so that's been good to have that really, kind of on-site with people that are real, I'm not a real golfer, I'm a hacker, basically. But there's some real golfers putting some energy in making Sunrise the best golf course it can be. Happy to answer any questions y'all might have about this.
I don't have any.
More to come.
Nope, good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, item number 6, sports fees for 2022, please.
You want to start off?
Mhm.
Alright.
So if you guys look here on our presentation, our program trends from 1990 to 2019, as you can see, throughout that whole entire time, we are pretty much declining in numbers. We didn't throw the past 2 years in here because Matt and I are both fairly new, and it's been COVID years, so it's not been anything else. We've not seen years like that before. So how do we get these numbers going in the right direction? Matt kind of said it earlier. We sell experiences. That's what we want to do. I believe since we are a city government, we are a public service. So I firmly believe we need to serve the public. And I think one way we do that is by slashing our sports fees pretty much in half, and some even more than half. So I think all of our fees with football, or besides football, so basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, all of those have been $50 fees, registration fees in the past. We think we can cut those down to $20.
We're gonna be, I just wanna just concentrate on this for a second, which is, we've seen a declining trend. We've seen a declining trend in all of our major sports that we sponsor for a couple of decades now. And so your goal is to reverse that negative trend, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and we firmly believe that we can reverse that trend by making it more affordable for all people to be enrolled in our programs.
So Chad's hitting it spot on, and that goes again back to the program guide and everything that we've been working on with that. So you may have kind of caught a sneak peek of that when we showed you the inside of the brochure of the activities and the programs that we're wanting to offer, and then at the reduced rate. And so right now we're just kind of putting the focus on our youth sports because the trend for the past 30 years has been spiraling downwards. And there is a culmination of things that are affecting that. Kids, you're more accessible to technology now. They're on their phones, they're on their game consoles, just not quite as invested in things. And those that have a little bit more talent and skill and the money and the means to do so, they're playing travel sports, whether that is the travel baseball or football or basketball. That's the way that things have kind of progressed when it comes to sports. But there still is a real value to the traditional rec leagues that accommodates for those of all skill levels, of all incomes. It's something that's a lifelong skill. It's not something that you're just doing for a couple of weeks to maybe just get better at, making a layup or something. And while there is that value to it, it's about creating that character and building that friendship, and that relationship, working on the social skills and the discipline. There's so many different values and lessons within each and every one of these program trends. And that's why we were just kind of focusing on, again, what's traditionally been offered, and why I keep hitting on we'd like to be a little more unordinary and do some different things with it, and not just focus on the sports. But since that's what's been offered, that's what we've got to project ourselves against. And so by proposing what we are, we're trying to focus on increasing participation. Our goal for 2022 is to increase participation across our youth sports by 20%. If we're looking at that, from the breakdown of what we had this year, it's only going to take about 111 kids, additional children, to reach that mark. And we think that is completely plausible.
How far off are our numbers from the 10, 19? I mean, just ballpark. Is it fairly close, or is it
Yes, yes, fairly
10 or
close.
15 or?
The only one I'd say, baseball and softball are the ones not quite as close, but the others are all
Fairly
fairly
close.
close.
I mean,
Yes.
you've hung in with the volleyball is kind of maintained.
Yes.
And I think that's one that you can.
Volleyball, football maintained, basketball has been so-so, and then baseball and softball are the two that have taken the biggest hits so
Yeah.
far.
But as we mentioned earlier, the world of travel sports is huge
Yeah,
now,
baseball,
so
yeah.
that's taken
That's-
away
I know
from.
both of those have heavy travel.
Yes.
The value in coming through, and of course baseball was my sport, but I played youth basketball all the way through, is the value of keeping that kid that's not bigger, faster, stronger at 12 years old.
Mhm.
And having that kid that, the kid that's bigger, faster, stronger is probably grown by then. And it's those other kids, and giving them, so they don't give up at 9,
Exactly.
they're hanging in there and giving that opportunity and doing the best we can.
I would say if Mr. Bronchello was here, he could attest to how many times, both from a character standpoint of how many kids were headed down the wrong path and turned out to be okay and make the right decisions later on because of something like this, a structure. Or if you're strictly looking at athletics, how many of these 9 and 10-year-olds that then one day in 11th, 12th grade, they shoot up to 6'5", and the coach is on his hands and knees begging them to come play. There's different propositions and values for that. And that's why we think this is such a big endeavor that we want to kind of go through, is just we want to focus on our participation, we want to focus on our experience, and we want to focus on helping the community financially. We think that there is a sort of a value that we can add, that we think we can do better for our programming. We think that we just need to get the kids out there, show them what all we have to offer. We've been partnering like crazy with the local schools. As you can see there in the middle one, they're on Cub Field on that turf for flag football, which is something that the kids and the varsity players and coaches got to integrate and do together. So we're trying to go a different route with some of the stuff, and still be able to give the kids the time that they deserve, the attention, and I think we can do so at an affordable rate. But overall, if you just looked at basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, tackle football, and flag football in 2021, to sign up for each one of those, you play every single sport, that was $300. With our current proposal, to do every single one of those again would be $150. So it would be cutting it completely in half. And so, big way that we can do that, we've got a little bit more overhead. We're going to be focusing, like I said, with this program guide, on the marketability and going to these businesses and getting more sponsorships. That's going to be a huge priority, like Mayor Courtney mentioned.
That was going to be my
With the
next question.
sponsorships, yes,
It's a great idea,
but how do we do
but
it?
are we going to maintain the financial end of it?
And
Because
that's the goal.
you're giving them a hat, you're giving them a shirt,
Right.
you're providing the uniforms for that, so that cuts into your 20.
Yep.
And I think maybe that.
Yeah,
Okay.
same thing. We're going to focus on the sponsorships, working with these businesses, and that's where when we go to them, we have this complete program guide. We've said this is our initiative, this is what we've done by slashing rates. How can you help us? I mean, that's the route that we're going to try to go with this to appeal.
And I know they've tried some, they've floated it, and maybe with some concerted effort, getting it into the junior high and the high school with some rec city league type things that you could, if you had the junior high, that we all get, that's first time we deal with getting cut and things like that. If you could get 4 teams and get, 36, 40 kids and do it, it doesn't have to be a crazy season, a month or something, give them, just find some people in the community to be coaches.
Absolutely.
and float that, and I know you compete with everything else, but especially until they get their driver's license. They like things, once driver's license come along, you
Yeah.
kind of lose it, but there's some avenues there that you might be able to pick up.
Totally agree.
That,
I think this is something we should definitely try,
Yeah.
support it. I want to reiterate what Matt said about the importance of athletics and recreation to our community, and particularly our youth. And all the things we've been doing, and again, always come back to the reasons we need to be mindful of how we can make money elsewhere is so we can invest there, but also invest in the community. And honestly, we have the resources to do this. We'll grow our participation, even at a lower rate, but sports programming is very, very important for us.
Roger and his program that he'll do in the schools, if something comes up during the summer, pick up 15, 20 there, try to find a tennis, 15, those that are lifelong sports, that, golf.
Right.
There's some generation you give now, but there's some generating of revenue. But it's just experiencing those two lifelong sports. We eventually have to hang up softball and basketball, the little league, but, golf and tennis,
What, you can't dunk it anymore?
those types of things. The body doesn't run the bases quite like they used to. But yeah, just trying to expand that, and I completely salute your finding non-sport type activities and recreation for our youth, and get them into the other things, whatever, maybe volleyball, kickball, wiffle ball, those types of things. Archery, well, that's
big.
That's a big, those types of things that you could.
And there's also instructional things we're doing, more camp
Yes.
ideas and things like that just reach out.
That was what I was going to hit on. It's not in our guide, but we've been working with Hannah Mahoney pretty closely on getting camps set up for either the winter or the summer for things that aren't necessarily sports driven. Like we've got a theater camp in mind that we want to do, like a craft camp in mind that we want to do, robotics camp in mind that we want to do. We can all market that, and then that goes towards getting more than just your typical sports, getting kids involved that way.
And then $20, that's
Yeah.
McDonald's a couple of times. I mean, so if we can do that, there will be very little financial burden
I agree.
on families.
Yes.
Yep. Board, if you are all okay with it, I would like to ask if we vote on the proposed rates for 2022 for our youth sports.
Okay. I need a motion to
I'll move as presented to the 2022 fees as presented, which would be $20 for everything.
For
except
basketball,
for
baseball, softball,
tackle football.
volleyball, and flag football, all $20, and tackle football, which was $75, will be reduced to $50.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor of the new sports fees for 2022, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next, we have a resolution.
Can we ask you to put your microphone on? There we go. Thank you.
Next, we have a resolution that I need to read. So this is resolution number 2021-5. Whereas Carol M. Brown died on December the 19th of 2020, leaving the City of Madison Parks Department as the beneficiary of an annuity through Prudential Insurance Company. Whereas the City of Madison Parks Board recognizes the generosity of Carol M. Brown and her strong commitment to the City of Madison Parks Department. Whereas it is in the best interest of the City of Madison Parks Board to accept this generous gift to the City of Madison Parks Department. Whereas Matt Woolard is currently serving as the City of Madison's Park Director. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Madison Parks Board accepts the gift of the annuity of Carol M. Brown. Be it further resolved that Matt Woolard, as the City of Madison's Parks Director is authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the acceptance and transfer of annuity funds from Prudential Insurance Company to the City of Madison Parks Department. Be it further resolved that the City of Madison Clerk Treasurer is authorized and directed to take the necessary steps to effectuate the acceptance of said gift. We need to have a roll call vote. So, Tim?
Was there, I'm sorry, was there a motion and a second on the
Oh,
resolution?
I did not.
Okay.
I need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and I need a second, please.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And, well, we need a roll call vote, I'm sorry. Tim?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. So moved. Resolution passes. Okay? Item number 8 is our meeting dates for the.
Gail, sorry.
I just want to, well, go ahead and let's do the meeting dates real quick. I have something that I want to mention before we close out.
Oh, okay. We're going to, the next item is our meeting dates for the 2022. So, as of right now, we will just, plan that on, the meetings will be on the first Monday of the month. So the next, board meeting for the 2022 Parks Board will be Monday, January the 3rd at 6:30. In January, we will then address this and see if the time will change to an earlier time. But for right now, we're gonna move that the meetings be on the first Monday of the month, and the next meeting will be Monday, January the 3rd at 6:30 p.m.
Gail, I would like to acknowledge both yours and Tim's participation on the board. I have a certificate of appreciation for both of you here, and it reads, in recognition of outstanding dedication and support to the City of Madison Park Commissioners, we wish to honor Tim Whitaker and Dr. Gail Spalding for your dedication and service to our community since January 2011, and Tim, for you, April 2012. So almost a decade, or over a decade for both of you, and you have really helped us usher in a lot of changes, as you can see through all the meetings we've had the last year and a half or 2 years through the Parks Department. And I hope you feel like you're leaving the Parks Department in good hands and with a bright future with the planning that we've embarked on, and not only the strategic planning, but all the programming and the support of our fantastic park system across the city. So I would like to give each of you this.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And just a point of personal privilege, I guess. Thank you for the opportunity, City. I've enjoyed my time on the board tremendously, and like I said, it's been close to a decade. Didn't realize it'd been quite that long.
Yeah.
But we've gone through a lot of things, a couple of long-range plans. I'm excited to see where Matt and the new board and the mayor will take the parks. I think there are a lot of exciting things on. A lot of people have done work up to this point, but I think we're to a point now that the gas pedal is going to kind of get pushed, and with some grants and some other things, there's going to be some major changes. The golf course with a new direction, and I like to thank Jeff for the work he put in over the years for that, but the new direction with that and expanding that, and also with the pool and those things, and hopefully that will take off also as a great facility. And just the excitement I think there is, I think the community will hop on board once they start seeing a lot of these things. I know it's tough to raise rates and things like that for facilities, but in the great scheme of things, hope that we'll have a better product.
Or lower rates like we did
Or
tonight.
or lower rates, yeah,
Right.
for families. And I think that's the important thing for our families, and give kids the chance to participate. But the growth that is on the table for everything, not just our 2 or 3 that everybody sees, but all those small parks, city parks and things like that. So thank you, and I do appreciate the opportunity.
Tim, thank you.
I too, I want to thank Mayor and all the members of the Parks Department and city officials for allowing me the opportunity to work with all of you. This year was a little trying and a little difficult, but there were things that needed to be done, and that's always really what's most important. And I feel privileged and honored that I had the opportunity to witness this and be a part of it. And as Tim said, I can't wait to see the changes that take place. I can't wait to see how our park systems really continue to grow and become just another avenue for people in the community to get together, to get that camaraderie back, and to spend time together. COVID has really made things difficult, and here's to hoping that in the future we can get everything back on track and all of our families and our community members can be out and about. And I think the changes that we've made, although some have been difficult and some are hard, and change is always difficult, but we have to keep in mind that we are serving hundreds to thousands of people in this community, and we want to make it a great place for everyone. And so I thank you, Mayor, I thank everyone for allowing me to be on the board for this long, and I really want to thank all of the current board members and past board members and past mayors that I've had the opportunity to work with, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to pass the gavel, and I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the next meeting again is on Monday, January the 3rd at 6:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Tim, so is Tony your brother?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yep. Is.
You gotta sign that one.